Or bigger than a railway, things like we heard on the decks. Brother, hold the court and give it to no suspect. Politics in the mix, like double Stuart Rich. Spinning tales from Black Wall Street, real life's the pitch. Donnie Glover Show, be more news. 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 Business tips hotter than lava. Got that Midas touch. Stocks and blocks teaching youngins how to clutch. Ears to the concrete, finger on the pulse. Dropping wisdom like Homer, each word a joke. Donnie Glover Show, be more news. 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 Walls painted black, history on lock. Blast off from Tulsa, rebirth like a clock. Markets rising from ashes to gains. Donnie the narrator, truth runs in veins. Donnie Glover Show, be more news. 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 Business tips hotter than lava. Got that Midas touch. Stocks and blocks teaching youngins how to clutch. Ears to the concrete, finger on the pulse. Dropping wisdom like Homer, each word a joke. Donnie Glover Show, be more news. 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 Walls painted black, history on lock. Blast off from Tulsa, rebirth like a clock. Markets rising from ashes to gains. Donnie the narrator, truth runs in veins. Donnie Glover Show, be more news. 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 Show, be more news. Be news.
Good evening, family. Peace and blessings. Recently, I received an email from a brother who's been faithfully watching our Indigenous series. In his words, the discussions sometimes feel romantic, fragmented, and inconclusive, and that all the neo-intellectualism might leave some folks scratching their heads. First off, I appreciate that kind of feedback because that's exactly what this platform is about. Dialogue, two-way talk. We don't have to agree on everything, but we do have to keep talking open, honestly, and with love for the truth in our hearts. The series was never designed to hand out neat, prepackaged answers. It's about raising questions that have been buried for centuries. We are unpacking layers of history, culture, faith, and identity that have been distorted, erased, and mislabeled. And yes, that process is complex, sometimes messy, but absolutely necessary. These are the topics that we will repeatedly explore. The pyramids in the Americas, the origin of the Confederate flag, the hundreds, if not thousands, of mound and pyramid burial grounds across North America, the truths behind the transatlantic slave trade, the Hebrew-Muslim and Native Trialogue, and Richmond, Virginia's Walter Plecker and the Racial Integrity Act of 1924, also known as the one drop rule. If you learn nothing on the show, I hope you learn about the one drop rule, because it was a 50 fake out, and we haven't really understood what happened to us. Long story short, we lost $5 billion in land. With that said, we revisit these subjects because they are fundamental. They're foundational to understanding our true story, a story that extends far beyond what traditional textbooks have told us. You know what you learned in school. This isn't about intellectual showmanship. It's about reclamation, reclaiming ours. It's about connecting the dots so the next generation won't have to. They won't have to start from scratch. And on that note, big ups to the younger generation for their scholastic work. The beauty of this work is that the dialogue keeps expanding, not just locally, but nationally. Every week, we're joined by powerful voices. Hannibal James in Detroit, Horace IV in Chicago, Planet Wells, a New York native, now in Hawaii, Mafia Shakur here in Baltimore, Afrofuturist William Jones from the DMV, and Robert Scott in Atlanta. And of course, Brenda Bennett, our virtual reference guide who keeps the discussion grounded with context and research. Together, these thinkers help us build a bridge between scholarship and lived experience, between history and present day identity. So to that brother who wrote in, and to all of our viewers, stay with us. Please stay with us. Ask your questions. Challenge us. Think critically, because this journey takes time. We're not just having conversations. We're rebuilding a narrative, one truth at a time. And so let me just welcome tonight's panel. We have Hannibal James. How are you, sir?
Hey, I'm doing fine. How you doing today, Donnie?
Outstanding. We also have Planet Wells. How are you, sir?
Wonderful. Good to see you.
All right.
Hey, Hannibal.
Hey, what up, though?
I think we got Horace on deck somewhere. William Jones, the Afrofuturist.
Excellent.
What's going on, sir?
And Horace is coming in, I think. Planet Wells.
Yes.
How was your day?
Good. Did a little work in the yard here, and keeping it moving.
Okay.
How about yourself?
Brother, I'm grateful. Glad to be alive. Glad to be in the land of the living one more time.
Absolutely.
Have you been getting any feedback?
Well, I just wanted to say this, that I saw the legendary Top Cat on your interview with him, and I thought it was brilliant. And I really enjoyed it, and it was very powerful.
Pretty sharp young man.
Absolutely.
A great spirit, great attitude.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Mr. Jones? How was your day?
Hey, it was great, man. Thank you for asking. Doing well.
What's the word? What's the word in the DMV?
Oh man, nothing's changing. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it pretty much is. It is what it is, man.
All right. Horace IV, how are you, sir?
Peace, my brother. I'm all right, man. In the beautiful state of Alabama at the present moment.
All right.
Hannibal James.
Oh, it's been a day filled with research and blessings. I've been watching some of the legendaries that do this job, like Top Cat, Kirumo. I always get his name kind of mixed up, and Dane Calloway. So they, building my repertoire on what angles to study this thing at.
Mm-hmm. And if you don't mind, man, I want to give a big shout out and a salute to the brother Magic 363.
Absolutely.
Man, that brother, man, that cat there, man, he got a virtual movie. I don't know if you guys seen it, but it was in the group text.
Absolutely, I seen it.
Man, boy, it was powerful, man. I really want to give a shout out to that young brother there, man.
Absolutely.
Did you want to share some of it? Does it have copyrighted music in there?
Well, no, it's a AI generated virtual movie.
Okay.
I can send you the link right quick.
It was right. Addressing what William Jones was talking about.
Okay.
What was that? Bring us full speed. You're a journalist now, Planet Wells. Who, what, when, where, and why? You can't just be throwing stuff out there.
Well, how our images have been hijacked, and how we've been removed from the future, as well as the past.
Yeah, he changing the game with this movie, and I think that it's gonna set a trend, and it is man, it's amazing for the youth that's coming up. Like right now, man,
Absolutely,
it's amazing for them, man. So I just sent you the text message. You might have to fast forward to the actual timeline where the movie starts.
I'm gonna put a different number in the chat. I'm not on that line. That line is charging.
Okay.
In that private chat, I just put a number in there. But while we're looking for that, I did want to share something with you that I came across earlier today. And to our Afrofuturists, right after this, we're gonna come to you because I know you got a topic or two that you'd like to introduce. So I came across this piece right here. Oh man, it blew my mind. Let me see if I can get it up here. There it is. Virginia Indians may be classified with Negro race. Chickahominy tribe in New Kent County is fight movement started by Plecker. Now this is the guy Plecker down in Richmond, Virginia, who was in charge of the census. Chickahominy Indians in New Kent County have become disturbed over the possibility that they will be classed as Negro in the 1930 census due to the efforts of Dr. W.A. Plecker, Registrar of the Virginia State Bureau of Vital Statistics. And they are taking steps to prevent such a contingency if possible. It was learned here yesterday. Chief E.P. Bradby of New Kent County has written a letter to various white friends scattered over the Commonwealth, asking them to use their efforts to prevent Dr. Plecker from persuading the federal authorities to classify the Chickahominies as Negroes. The Chickahominy chieftain became alarmed following publication on Friday of Dr. Plecker's letter to W.M. Stewart. I won't go through it all, but this is just an example, and this is out of the newspaper in Richmond in somewhere around 1930, no later than 1935, I imagine. Okay. But this is an example of the land and how they took the land. Through that Racial Integrity Act, they essentially took people's property. That's the long story short. So come on in, Mr. Jones. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Once again, thank you again for having me. Really enjoyed the previous time.
So, any thoughts on your mind? I mean, shall we pick up on the discussion where we were with Afrofuturism, Native Americans, and how you see the future? Especially based on a series like this.
Yeah, sure. Was there anything in particular? Well, one thing I wanted to bring up, you mentioned the one drop rule at the opening. They did not use the one drop rule when it came to indigenous folks on this side of the globe. They actually had another system called blood quantum. And I want, folks are not familiar with that. Essentially what that was, the one drop rule was if you had a drop of black blood, you were considered black. No matter how far back they would trace your lineage. But the blood quantum rule, they actually used that to try to diminish the numbers of indigenous folks on this land, where they were saying basically, if you don't have enough Native American blood in you, we will disqualify you as being considered a Native American. And what they did with that was, this was a way, you talk about taking land, that was a way in which they were able to get out of a lot of treaties that they had made with indigenous folks. And, once again, they probably wasn't going to honor it anyway. Let's be clear on that. But they were using this as justification to not honor it. So they would sign a treaty with a Native American person and then say, oh, based on the blood quantum rule, you're not really Native American, so therefore I don't have to honor this treaty. So it was not the same. When people hear one drop rule, they think that was applicable across the board. It was not. They actually used different things depending upon who they were talking to, and they used it for different purposes. So in the case of black folk, they're trying to increase the number of black people for a couple of reasons, in terms of the enslaved population, also in terms of counting black people towards state population, and it gets to the whole 3/5 rule and so forth. But for Native American folk, that's trying to do the opposite, diminish their numbers so that they could do, among other things, like take their land.
Can you explain that did you explain the blood quantum rule?
Yeah, so once again, this was a way of them basically saying, and they had a very, detailed chart as far as you can go. It was, if you don't have enough, what they determined Native American blood, they would rob you of your rights as a Native American or indigenous person. And what that means is, once again, if they signed a treaty with you and then they did the blood quantum test or whatever you want to call it, they would say, oh, you're not Native American enough, so therefore we don't have to honor the treaties that we've written with you. So I don't want people to think that they applied the one drop rule to Native American people, because they didn't. They had a different set of rules for them.
I'm a little confused, because I'm not seeing what you're saying different than the one drop rule. The one drop rule, essentially, all this time we thought one drop was something to be proud of, but truth be told, one drop was to rob you. Aren't we saying the same thing?
No, I'm just saying in both cases, it worked to serve the purpose of the white supremacists. I'm just saying in the case of the one drop rule, it was increasing the number of black people. Right. But in the case of the blood quantum, it was decreasing the number of Native Americans or indigenous people.
Well, the one drop rule was saying that even though you have indigenous ancestors, you are black. We're saying the same.
They were not. They were not applying the one drop rule to Native American people. That's what I'm saying. Now, at different points in time, when you go back and you look at the slave codes and the black codes in the 1600s, they began to lump black folk and indigenous folk in the same category, right. But they were using different methods to determine who was what. So the end result ends up being the same. But once again, the blood quantum rule gave them the right to break treaties that they had made with indigenous folks. So they would simply say, oh, you're not Native American enough. And in the case of black folks, they were saying, oh, since you're black, we can count you towards the state's population. Okay. Since you're black, we can enslave you. Since you're black, we can mistreat you. So they're doing the same thing, but in terms of the end result, in terms of the numbers game, that's where the difference comes in.
I think that we got to look at this, our connection to this soil in like 5 century blocks, like from the 1500s, 16, 17, 18, 19, into the current day right now. So when they first got here, you got to realize it was only basically 2 colonies, Virginia and Maryland, they was dealing with. And you got to realize it was Algonquin and Iroquois people they was dealing with in the beginning. And then you got to remember that these Iroquois tribes was pushing the Algonquins south, preferably people like the Pequots and the Shawnees from out of Ohio. And these people was in these northern, like Virginia and stuff like that. They was seeking refuge. And at the same time, you had the Saponis, these Blackfeet coming out of Saskatchewan, Canada, migrating into Ohio, coming into Fort Christiana, North Carolina at the same time. You get what I mean? So we got to look at this in time periods. And I think the Racial Integrity Act and the one drop rule is the end result to basically seal the deal. And I think the deal, like he was saying, in the colonial times in the 1660s, you did have a lot of indigenous and quote unquote indentured servants who produced babies, and these babies became quote unquote black and on record or colored on record. So it's a lot of avenues that our audience got to look at when we talk about our history, because we in 2025, so we making a blanket statement. So we got to look at our history for 500 years and then move. You get what I mean?
Mm.
Well, I think that we get the people who they created these particular brackets for. You know, the same way when we did with the Dawes Roll, as well as the $5 purchases into what were considered Native Americans and Indians. So when we're dealing with the one drop rule, that allowed people who didn't look like us, that may have had one drop, to classify as us, but to classify us as something else, and to wipe us all the way out of the picture. They can say, okay, well, you guys are Indians, but these guys are Negroes. Now, this one drop rule would allow these pale people to be classified as Indians. Now they can receive the benefits from the contracts that they had when they were contracting with the English and the French when they got here. So that one drop rule, I don't think that it ever favored us. It was always to wipe us out, because they know that the people were amalgamating with each other. So you can have one of us to have a child by a Caucasoid, and then have a mulatto, and then that one drop rule can classify him as an Indian, which was a government term, but then they termed us something else. So it was completely to erase us all the way out of the equation altogether.
Okay. So it to bounce it back to you is, what type of time period is we looking at when this one drop rule started to be present? Is we talking about? So we talking about later in the history of this country. So I'll contend like what happened in the 1817, 1600s, yes, because the relationships was a little bit more dynamic than that, because it was a push down south and then the expansion to go south and west. And the Iroquois tribes and them settlers and these religious organizations like the Catholic Church and the Jesuits, they was all in line with each other, and they was bringing people from all over the world. So it was an amalgamation. It's not plain and clear as like when Doni opened the show, he said it's like sound like it's romanticized. So I think that in order to bear the fruit or show the underwear, or however to lift the skirt on this situation, we gotta say what it is from the beginning. If we gotta search these colonial records and say, hey, it's this, because it's for sure, I know it's Irish women running away with Native Americans, and these kids classified as Negroes in Maryland and Virginia. This is on record here in the colonial time. So how do you address these children that was quote unquote these offsprings of these people, then later classified as free people of color, then later classified along these tribes that we talking about? You get what I mean?
Yeah, well, a couple things are happening. The one drop rule actually goes back to the 1600s.
Okay.
It goes back to that time period. You're talking 1660, 62, give or take, right? Because what is happening is, what folks have to keep in mind is when they designed enslavement in this country, talking chattel slavery, they didn't know what it was going to look like. It was a work in progress. Right. So if you go back and you look at the laws and the rules that come out in the 1600s, they're trying to figure out what this thing is going to look like. So you get the one drop rule in the 1660s. You get the rule of, you know, the status of the child depends upon the status of the mother. Right. You get rules about marriage and things of that nature. So they're trying to crystallize it in the 1600s because they themselves don't even know what's going to look like.
Yes, what sources do we have from the 1600s?
If you go back and you look at the rules that are coming out of Virginia, the House of Burgesses at this time, this was the colonial representation on this side of the globe. So if you're talking about these laws and so forth, this is before, of course, the United States becomes the United States.
Right.
They're getting their laws via the, like I said, the House of Burgesses.
Right.
This was England's representation on this side of the globe. So
Right.
these are laws that they're trying to figure out, what is slavery going to look like? Because initially, for example, they said if you were a practicing Christian, or if you were a Christian, you could not be enslaved. They quickly changed that rule because they figured out they couldn't do that. So you see this back and forth in terms of what is this thing going to look like? And by the time you get to the end of the 1600s, going to the 1700s, it's pretty much established as to what it's going to look like. So once again, if you're talking about what, you're talking about sources of information, I would tell you and all the listeners out there, go back and look at what the state of Virginia was doing, the House of Burgesses in particular. And this is when you start to see how enslavement, racial identification on this side of the globe became more crystallized. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Can I interject right there with Maryland, it would be like Lower Calvert or Lower Baltimore.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And another thing that is happening, there are like
all I'm saying.
I'm sorry.
Can we bring these sources to light? There's a share button down the bottom.
Okay, let me see.
You see, present.
I don't, like I said, if folks would just go check, House of Burgesses.
Well, what I'm saying is we don't like to put information out there and not be able to qualify.
That's what I'm telling people where to go.
On House of Burgess, I'm not coming across anything with House of Burgess. There's a link to them in 1619, but 1619 they were just getting here.
No, I said 1660, and once again, things are just being figured out. 1619 is when you have the establishment of Black folk coming into Jamestown. Okay. So that's the significance as far as like Black folk going. A couple other things are happening in 1619. So the House of Burgesses, they're establishing these rules as they go. So you'll see different things happening. And going back to what Brother James was talking about, that's where that confusion is coming in, because they themselves are trying to figure it out. 1619, people like to talk about it, but the first Africans coming over, they in Virginia, they didn't even know what to do with them, because they had Spanish sounding names. And because they had Spanish sounding names, they knew that the Spanish probably had them. The Spanish had a reputation for baptizing their captives. And the rule at the time was you couldn't baptize a fellow Christian. I'm sorry, you couldn't enslave a fellow Christian. So in 1619, even though these folks were in fact slaves, they actually labeled them indentured servants, because once again, they didn't know what they were doing.
So the state of Virginia has
this. See where you pulling this from, because I'm sorry, Hannibal.
So the state of Virginia got
out there, and I just want to qualify it for the people. That's all. So we were here before 1619. We were actually here 1520 in terms of people coming over. Yes. Mind you, but in addition, there were people already here.
Right.
We as American history students, we forget there were civilizations already intact here. It's not like the white person came here and started establishing stuff.
So we can look at.
I hope nobody thinks I'm saying that, because I'm certainly not. I was talking about the English in particular. Right. In the 1500s, for example, you had Black folks in New Amsterdam that had come over with the Dutch. 1400s, you had Black folks that came over with the Spaniards. So if that's what you're talking about, then certainly there's a history there.
Those people, those Spaniards, and some of those Dutch, or who they were classified as Dutch, they were Black. So I think that a lot of times we think that when these different groups of people came over here from Europe, they were white. They were not white.
Well, I don't agree with that particular point. My research hasn't shown me that.
It's fine. A little research, what I'm saying, to reveal that. But those particular groups of people, the Spaniards, were mostly Black as well as mulatto. They always went under clothed names: Spaniards, Dutch, Frenchmen. Just like the guy who discovered Chicago allegedly, DuSable.
DuSable.
You know what I mean? DuSable. He was a Frenchman, born in Haiti, but he was Blacker as you are. So I think that, and see, that's how he was able to sail the Mississippi and go found a land during the time where the rest of the copper color people in the land were being enslaved. But we seem to think that those Europeans that were coming over here were white. Most of them weren't white at the particular time. The white ones didn't start coming in until maybe about close to 100 years after the Spaniards had pretty much wrecked everything from Hispaniola all the way up north. But yeah, see, that's the confusion that comes in. So like when you say that the black people had landed in Jamestown, Virginia, what black people are you talking about? Are you talking about
I'm
Africans?
talking about, yeah, no, I'm talking about those Africans that were on board of a ship that had been taken from the Spanish. And once again, these black folks had Spanish names. And because of the practice of baptizing your captives, they were designated. Brother Jay, I'm so sorry, brother. Go ahead.
So the state of Virginia got an encyclopedia on their government site, and it talks about the first 20 and odd that come there. Our audience can research it. The state of Virginia itself conjecturized or they assert that these 20 and odds came from Veracruz, New Mexico, or Mexico.
Yeah, most of the blacks that were coming, that they were shipping around, were coming from South America and
I also
and different places in Hispaniola. But so far as them, I'm not saying that they didn't bring anybody from Africa, but those numbers and some of those ports where they said that they were bringing in Africans by the shiploads, that's all conjecture.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. But I was giving our listeners a resource. The state of Virginia itself is saying that these 20 and odds come from Veracruz, and that so at the time you had Spain at odds with England. So it was treacherous coming through that Atlantic and bringing slaves here. So the best route to bring slaves or the Spanish to run slaves up in here was from the Mexico up the East Coast, up the Atlantic. So
yeah, because if you got an entire continent with millions of people on the continent that look like Africans, then what happened to all of those millions of people?
I think they got to put it on these plantations because you can read. That's why I'm saying as we go through the research and do the higher level research and understanding why Harvard in this first class had Native Americans in it and what they
wait a
believe.
minute, I get a little confused when you say Native Americans. Are you talking about?
I think we dealing with Semitics. We dealing with the original people.
I'm just trying to get clarity when you use that word Native American.
I think the original people here.
Okay.
Were first students at Harvard University, and these religious minds put them there for a reason. So what I'm saying is that we got to go to the resources that we are throwing to our audience. You know what I'm saying? Giving them the source. When we say it, giving them the source where they can go to and find it and say, okay, whether it's true or false. Because it's no doubt that it was a guy named Sir Yardley, Yeardley. The ladies should know about it, the Yardley soap or whatever. This guy was there in Virginia with William, with the governor, William Bradford and all them when these 20 and odds got there. They split these 20 and odds. So it is people that took the DNA test today, and I just seen it myself that got these Yardley people on their tree. So in order to confirm that DNA is not a hoax, it's true. So you can research the information by studying the church, the law, the politics, then the colonials first, the first people there.
All right, we're gonna bring in the legendary Big Chief Top Cats. Y'all can start some stuff
what
now.
I wanted.
You see that picture I sent you, Doni?
I'm focused here. You got me. I gotta stay focused. But we got the legendary Top Cats. He teaches Indian history, and he is the best that ever done it. Top Cats.
Hey,
how you doing?
What up, go?
We can barely hear you. What happened to sound?
Mike, tell you hear me now?
Oh, yeah. Good.
Okay.
Make it make sense, big brother.
Blessings, Top Cat.
Peace to you, OG. Me coming in, well, basically, I just caught the point y'all going through the 16, 19.
Turn it up a little bit, bro.
Let me just take the mic off. Yeah, I came in on the 1619 part. The records for the 1619. I don't know, brother Donnie, if you don't mind me
Come on in.
it up for you. I know you said you want some sources.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, bring it on. Yes, sir.
Okay.
And we coming down your way November 22nd. I got some Black Wall Street awards for you.
Yeah, you told me. So yeah, that 1619, the brother said you can go to the Virginia records, which is correct. In the Virginia records, it shows that today they say it's 20 odd Negroes, but back then on the original records from the Virginia Company of London, they actually said that they came from the West Indies. The ships come from the West Indies. And I confirmed that with Professor David Eltis. So if I can share my screen, OG, that's cool.
Yes, please.
All right, it don't take a second.
Please tell Candy Bar hello. She's one of your biggest fans, bro. She keep a
Shout out
foot in my
Candy.
eyeballs.
What up, though, Candy? Shout out to Miss Candy. All right. Coming out of history.com. The first enslaved Africans arrived in Jamestown, setting the stage for slavery in North America. Now, this transatlantic slave trade, if you're a melanated or so-called black person in America, then someone have convinced you that this is your history and your truth. Growing up as a youth through the education system in society, we were always taught. We'll get to the good part. So the 1619 project, they came out and they talk about the San Batista and these other boats that came. They even tell us through the 1619 project right here that these were slaves captured and these were Africans. Well, if we go to the original record, this is Hannah Jones. She actually got an award, Nicole Hannah Jones. Right here, the NAACP actually gave her an award for this. So they had a backing. I know the brother said into his research that he found, he didn't find black people ruling or the Europeans. Well, here's the family right here. 1606 is the Virginia Company of London. May 14, 1607 is when they're gonna put their play together for Virginia. And then 1619. This 1606 is when they come. This King James Stewart I. This is son Charles I. This is a statue at Litchfield, an hour and a half outside of London, UK. This is King James II, known as the Black Boy King. And this right here be the last Stewart, Bunny, who will lead the second Jacobite War, which they'll lose that too. We can even get it here. They're speaking about Edinburgh, UK. I actually went there to go get it. This is the source I want to bring you out to. Library of Congress, MS-267, record of the Virginia Company, 1606 to 1626. Well, right here, it tells us that almost at the latter end, the Dutch war, 160 tuition arrived at Point Comfort. And here go Captain Joke, that was the captain. And they're in the West Indies, destroyed and behold the ship harbor. Right here, he brought a thing, but 20 odd Negroes. So it says 20 odd Negroes here. And then it goes on to let us know that these Negroes he had actually came from where reigns and take purchase in the West Indies. So never Africa, but West Indies. Later, now this is the primary, but later they'll come and tell us that. Now we know the Europeans, they came over the indenture. We see that Colonial America Works right here, and I ended there. for now. But yeah, that's a source on that topic for 1619. If we want to go to the one speaking about New York, when the first they talk about the 11 Negroes coming, the captain of the ship is Juan de Vries. We find him and his son on free Negro records. What they had, they gave them patents. Their patents were to be a buffer zone between them and the Indians, the European and the Indians. The patent, one of the first patents, was given to the captain, who was Juan de Vries, who was a melanated man, but he was of Portuguese origin. And so, yeah, I land right there and get in while I fit in.
You all right
But
there,
yeah,
Mr. Jones? We got the professor with us.
Yes, sir.
Well, you
I'm
know
saying
that
there's always more than there's layers to this stuff, huh, Top Cats?
Yeah, layers.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Peace, Big Chief. So that confirms what I was trying to explain. I didn't necessarily have the sources, available like Top Cat did, but what I was trying to explain to the brother is that when you say that the people came here from Africa that landed in Virginia, most of those people came from the southern borders or even other parts of the country that were already here. So far as the Africans coming over here, like I said, it could have been a small percentage, but not the way that we think it is, because we got to realize we're dealing with fork-tongued people. And then the majority of those Europeans, like I was trying to say, that we thought that it was white people coming over here, but those were basically swarthy people. And then they later brought in the Caucasoids, because I got a few pictures of them bringing immigrants in. And one of the things Planet Wells they touched upon is the invention of the camera, where they were actually able to take photographs. Well, the slave narrative was going on around the time that they had cameras, but they never not took one picture of any slave ships bringing any slaves in, but they have plenty pictures bringing in European immigrants. So now they could paint pictures and whatnot, but a painted picture, is worth only 100 words, instead of 1,000 in the case of them bringing our cousins over here from Africa.
Right. Hey, can I throw a question at you, Top Cat? Have you ever heard of a guy named Durantes Mozingo? And I think he's connected to Queen Nzinga. And I think that he was some type of overseer on the plantations down there. He was landed in Virginia or Maryland, but his kids was overseers down in South Carolina. Have you ever heard of that family?
Only Queen Nzinga. That's all I have.
Only Queen.
I bet I was on mute. Nah, I never heard of that family.
Okay.
Big Chief, moving forward, what can we do? What more can we do with this show? Is there going to be a call to action? For instance, like you got an event November 22nd. Can we plug that event?
Yes, sir. We can plug that. It's called FADE, Foundation American Indigenous Day. Be the largest indigenous gathering. Right now, every day somebody extra, being added. They calling trying to see if they can come. It's gonna be people from all over. I don't want to say no names. We got some big names or whatever. My game always been putting the power in the people. The power is in the people. So, we ain't got to throw around no names. We just need the people to be there, And so, right now, as of now, it's good. But we're gonna have we're gonna have different workshops, genealogy workshops. We're gonna have art, like we were just speaking about the conversation of brother. Some people think it's YT people did this, and some people looked at the resource. I mean, found resources that show us that otherwise. So for painting, so we're gonna have an art exhibit there where we want to transfer it. So people like Thomas Cromwell and them, or the people that blew off the faces, or the people that tore down after the French Revolution, tore down the Black Madonna statues and these things of this nature who covered it up. We want to bring that back because of the programming of the mind. Like someone just spoke of, we're seeing painted pictures. Even when you're talking about the Seminole, I like to bring that up because when you're talking about the Seminole Indians, we've never seen a picture of a Seminole Indian. But if we go back to the Civil War times, we can see the Seminole Scouts. They all look like us. But every time we see Native American, quote unquote, it's a picture. It's something that someone drew. It's a cartoon image, and it's not the real deal. So if they don't have the real people there at the same time that the Seminoles there, or if those Seminoles were really the true Seminoles, why aren't they fighting, and why don't we hear their names?
So Big Chief, in terms of reclaiming our legacy, this young man, Mr. Jones, with the yellow shirt, is an Afro-futurist.
I'm also an historian as well. So
and a historian.
Mm-hmm.
And any thoughts of what you would like to see in the future?
Well, I would first ask the brother, just to get a better understanding on that, is what brought you to this, to where you are now in your journey as an Afro? I'm sorry, what was it?
Afrofuturist.
Okay, can you break that down to me? What they mean to you?
Yeah, sure. The term itself, that came about in the 90s, but in terms of Afrofuturism, it's this space where folks are talking about, where Black people are going to be in the future, because so much conversation, and rightfully so, discusses our past and even our present, but there's very little attention or deep thought given to Black folks in the future. And I'm talking not in the next 50 years, I'm talking 100, 200, 300 plus in the future. So it's about discussing what that's going to look like. And also in terms of different branches of it and different ways of looking at it. If you're looking at the way that Black folk are represented in various forms of science fiction, fantasy, and so forth, that's part of the discussion as well. And like I pointed out last week when I was here, also the imagery of Black folk in those spaces are part of it. Because if you're talking about films, movies, books, or whatever that are being written and produced, and it's about the future, and Black folk aren't there, you're being told that there's no plan for you to be there in the future. So, growing up, if you watched a lot of science fiction or whatever the case might be, rarely was there a Black face in that space. So that's telling you that there are plans, there are thoughts that we don't plan on having you guys around. So it's about, thinking about what that's going to look like in the future.
Okay, let me ask you a question, brother. Do you have African descent?
Yes, sir.
What part of you mind me asking?
Well, as a result of so as far as a result of enslavement and so forth, I'm in the process of tracing my family tree, so I haven't gotten that far back. And as I shared last week, from my research and from my understanding, I personally don't look at indigenous folk and African folk on this side of the globe as being one and the same. I see us as being two distinct groups, and I see us through this process of enslavement and so forth and conquest in the Americas, the merging of the two groups. So and as I shared last week, that's based on my research and my findings. And I just appreciate the fact that despite that, I was brought on a program like this. So I just have a different perspective and have come to different conclusions based on what I've read and what I know.
Okay. The reason why I asked you that, so you say right now you have do you know what year your family left Africa and came to America?
No, once again, I'm in the process of figuring that out.
Okay, so what if it never happened?
I mean, we can see. And what if it did? I mean, we can do that.
Yeah, if it did, then we would have more information or more sources. You can answer some of these simple questions that
wait. They're not simple questions because what happened to us was complicated. So to simply say to a Black person in 2025, what part of Africa you come from, that right there isn't something that we can simply state because of what happened to us.
Well, if I
Well,
ask you, did you know your parents' name? Would that be complicated?
No, it would not.
So your parents had parents.
Yes.
Okay, so the Trade Embargo Act was passed 1807.
Okay.
Okay, so that would take us back at least 6 to 7 generations, meaning
Okay.
your grandparents. That's
Mhm.
your grandparents knew their grandparents, who
Mhm.
knew their grandparents, who knew their
Mhm.
grandparents.
Mhm.
So this we make it as though slavery was ancient. It's just a couple hundred years.
Agreed.
My great grandma was 102 years old when she passed.
Agreed.
That's 100
Mhm.
years.
Mhm.
So we're not that far disconnected. So
Agreed.
my question is, why is we lacking in the information, or is it just something that we're believing? Because in the 1800s, no one thought that they were going to Africa. I used the reference to the creation of the Sierra Leone Company, where they actually paid for your voyage to go to Africa.
Mhm.
And people said no. James Ford contacted Paul Cuffey, Richard Allen,
Mhm.
Philadelphia, and they went to Mother Belter with the largest congregation, and
Mhm.
no one wanted to go. The American Colonization Society was a fail in the early 1800s.
Mhm.
No one wanted to go to Africa. So my question is this: if those people didn't go to Africa and they're right there at the height of the slave trade,
Mhm.
why
Well,
would they want to go back home?
a couple of reasons.
Or
Number
why
one,
did
they
they
weren't.
have
I'm about to answer.
infinity for?
I'm about.
I wanted to close on this. And why didn't they have this infinity for Africa that you have? And you
Okay.
have
Well. Okay. Well, allow me to answer.
Mhm.
First of all, 1800s was not the height of the slave trade. Okay. By the 1800s, it's beginning to peter off, if you will. Okay. And with the American Colonization Society and some of the organizations that you mentioned, the problem was that they were trying to take free blacks out of America. By this point, it's America. They're trying to take free blacks out. And when the reason why a lot of free blacks said no was for a couple of reasons. Number one was by this point, they had been removed from Africa for so many generations that they did not have a connection to it. So I agree with that point. They didn't know where to go back to and so forth. Liberia was one of the spots where a lot of black folk went back to. But the other reason why a lot of free black folks did not return was because they were saying, if we leave, who's going to fight for the enslaved? So that was another reason. And also another reason why it failed was because there was a massive crash where they attempted to bring back some black folks in the 1800s, where a ship had crashed.
And
So
what's
they
the name
actually
of the
failed.
ship? What was the
Say
name
again,
of the
please?
ship? What was the
I would
name
go
of
back
the
and get the name of this. I would have to go back and get the name of the ship, but this was during like around Lincoln's time period. So
Okay.
there was actually an attempt to do that. Now you did have a lot of black folk that went back. Okay, that's where you get this. You have black folk that went back to Liberia, for example. And as far as the affinity for Africa, when you go back and you look at various organizations that black folks were creating, many of them had
Such as
Africa
what?
in its. Well, I'm answering your question.
Yes, sir.
Many of them had Africa in the title because they still had an affinity for Africa. Okay, AME
I have a question. I have a question, brother.
well, that was
Let him
okay.
finish.
Go ahead.
It's okay. Let him finish. It's a
Yeah.
good.
Oh, you want to
So,
finish it? Go ahead,
well,
brother.
I'm
Yeah,
just
we'll let
talking
him
about
finish.
the affinity that you were mentioning. So, for example, the AME Church. There's a reason why they put the term African. Okay, when Prince Hall established the Masonic Lodge in the United States, part of the reason why so many black folk were interested in Masonry is because they recognized the ancient Egyptian symbolism and so forth in Masonry, and they were able to say, hey, that's where I'm from. So there are constant references to Africa and the affinity for it. But just like, folks are being miseducated as to what Africa was, a lot of black folks were simply trying to distance themselves from Africa because they were being misinformed about it and didn't want to be part of it. Okay, so, and if you look at, for example, Phyllis Wheatley, one of her poems, she's the first black woman published in the colonies. She's talking about, when I say, come on, brother, when I said
Who
Liberia
you
founded,
said? I'm sorry. Who you said?
Phyllis Wheatley. Okay. And when I say
Benjamin.
Liberia founded, Phyllis Wheatley, she was one of the first,
Yeah.
she was the first black woman published in the colonies.
Do you
She
know what
speaks,
language he spoke?
yeah, but this is what I'm
She was
saying,
of
brother.
Dutch origin.
I understand that. But she came from Africa because in her poetry,
She talked about how she was saved from Africa. Okay, so once again, there
she
are
said it
references
somewhere because she spoke Dutch.
I understand that. You are correct.
And the
But
Dutch
it doesn't change.
New York, New Netherlands. So we
Yeah,
got
that's
to watch
correct.
the migration from New Netherlands, Amsterdam, and as
Okay.
it migrates up into Boston, Massachusetts.
Right. And I
That's
have no
where her
problem with that.
bloodline is gonna come from. The Dutch that she's coming from is what we call New York today.
No, exactly. Yeah, New
All
Amsterdam.
right, so it's not Africa.
No, but what I'm saying is, once again, you brought up affinity. When she speaks of Africa, she talks about the fact that she was saved from it. And she talks about the fact, so she's pointing to her African ancestry. So once again, because of miseducation, okay, and we're taught this hatred of Africa, we're trying to distance ourselves from it. Even
Okay, brother, I'm gonna have to stop you there because
please go ahead.
Yeah, so first of all, brother, there is no hatred. I don't think.
No, I didn't say no. I said that. I didn't. Nobody said that.
Okay,
you said it.
Hold fast.
I said that they were taught that in the 16 and 1700s. I'm not pointing anyone on the panel.
Well, my bad. I misunderstood you, but
yeah,
just relax for a hot second.
Okay.
Hey, can I share my screen, OG? You mind if I share my screen?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But the question that I wanted to originally pose is this: do you actually think that over the course of 350 years that the brothers and sisters in Africa were just standing around on the shores waiting to be enslaved by some Caucasoids or whoever else was coming to get them? So, brother, we're talking about 12.5 million people. There are no records of any wars fought by the people in Africa to prevent them from being enslaved. So the way that they're making it seem as if the brothers and sisters over there were just sitting there waiting on the shores.
No, that's absolutely not correct.
No, brother, let me explain something to you. If you're talking about these ports that's over here in Liberia and Uganda, those ports also have been misrepresented by the people who are writing the same narrative that we're over here defending. No different than you trying to tell a brother like, hey, the Christian concept could originally come from Ethiopia, but the way we have it over here is European. Even though the brothers don't know, they would still defend it. So now I have no problem with you trying to say that we from Africa, but brother, man, we've been here for trillions of years. We didn't just land here, 500 years ago on those ships, 35,000 ships, brother. Come on, not one ship to be found, not one picture of any ship anywhere.
All right, well, let's talk about it. Wait. So let me
let's talk about it. Yeah.
So for one thing, in terms of
can we address what's on the screen first?
Yeah, come on with it. Yes.
Can we address what's on the screen? No, Phyllis Wheatley did not say she was free from Africa.
Sir, that's not what I said. If you
but
go
she
back
was
and look
free
at
from
poetry,
slavery in America.
If you go back,
her journey from Africa to America, though difficult, brought her new spiritual understanding.
And that's what I'm talking about.
Okay, so
that's what I'm talking about.
No problem.
That's what I'm talking about. So that's what I'm saying. She references her African roots.
No
and
problem.
How she was saved from that. So that's what I was saying. And as far as the ships go, there have been documented cases of people going out, finding ships and so forth. You had black scuba diving societies. It's black scuba diving organizations.
Just one ship, man.
Okay, wait a minute. Time about brother, I haven't finished.
That's one ship. But I mean, brother, you've been talking for 20 minutes, man.
All right, I won't say anything. I won't say nothing else.
It's okay, brother.
It's okay, bro. I'm not your enemy, man.
I'm done, brother. You go right ahead.
Enemy, brother.
Brother, I was just trying to address. Brother, I was just trying to address.
No problem. You gave it up.
Brought up. No, I don't. I don't.
You can pull me up.
I don't want to.
No, it's not, brother. It's okay. It's okay. Brother Hannah will express you're not his enemy.
Like I said last week, for me, this conversation isn't bigger than what we're facing. So whether or not
after we had a conversation, right here, you spoke about them having an affinity and using Africa. Right here, this is one of my lectures. All skinfolk ain't kinfolk. It's 180 slides right here. Well, I want to take you to Mother Bethel. this is Mother Bethel. This is the AME Church, right? So right here we get at the Pan African Congress. I want to show you something, right? Because we were taught to worship. All skin folk and kinfolk is the name of it. We were taught to worship our oppressor. So right here, in effect, the dominant force to arise came in the form of a religious Pan-Africanism in the formation of the African Methodist Episcopal Church. So they were Christians. And then you have Edward Blythe in here, who is known as the father of Pan-African. Well, he was taught by a family at the age of 18, New York Colonization Society, since he couldn't get in Rutgers, sent him to Liberia, where he came down to Tuskegee and used their blueprint and took it back and credited the college back in Liberia. Now, what I want to show you is our brother Richard Allen. So we're gonna go to a primary. This is the book, The Life Experience Gospel Labels of Richard Allen. Let's see how African he is. Because when we get here, he's going to have the choice. They're going to have the choice whether they're going to. So they were kicked out of St. George, if you're familiar with the story. They were kicked out of St. George, and with the help of the Quakers, Society of Friends, I don't know if you're familiar with them, but the Society of Friends were a Quaker organization. He told us we were not Methodists, and they told them to leave. Now, here in the beginning, in the rise of the first African church in America, so he said but the elder of the Methodist church still pursued. So they had the choice to choose which way to go. They didn't choose the Orishas or Butes or any African religions. They said that the Methodists would be the best. Methodists would be the best for their people. And you get this right out of the life experience of Richard Allen. Not only that, right? Because that's why today Richard Allen was the first secretary to the Prince Howard Freemason that you spoke of. And Absalom Jones was the first worshiper master. Mm-hmm. Now, that connection today still lives. As today, our leaders in our community, or the community you speak about, are pastors and masons. So that's why our Reverend Jesse Jackson, our Reverend Al Sharptons come from people of like Richard Allen them here. According to them, the success is of the movement is largely owed to the Society of Friends, who were Quakers in the city of Philadelphia. These people are called founding fathers of the United States. Let me leave off here and come over here because one more brother Donnie, I'm almost done with it. I like to
man, we love having you on here, man. Don't you know all your
man,
fans?
I love being here. I love being here, man. And you know, I ain't gonna talk about it, you know. Right here,
Go back, I'll tell you.
So that is
this is damn near the greatest colonizer of all time. You know, we at the first AME church.
We're the first AME church right here. We're gonna walk over.
Nomination. They present
This the church.
87.
Me in Philadelphia. Anything I teach about, I book a flight and I go to make sure that what I'm bringing to people is right. Before then, we right here in St. George. This is the church that they're going to be kicked out. The Society of Friends, the same people who funded Absalom Jones to be the first pastor. So the African that you're thinking about is not coming from that. We have
that's not. But once again, that's not what was said. Your question was, where was the affinity
for Africa?
So once again, and if I'm speaking too much,
no, go ahead.
Let me know. I'm just saying because when I start addressing questions, I get told I'm talking too much.
Go ahead, man.
So my point is this: you asked about the affinity. I'm not talking about what they did with it.
No,
there's no African in it.
No, but what I'm saying is, if these
they're not
people,
speaking of Africa, Africans come from everything African. Have you ever heard of the African Institution? That's the company that took over after the Sierra Leone company failed. No
Okay.
Africans involved. All Europeans. The Royal African Company, the RAC, which ran the transatlantic slave trade through the stewards, the Royal African Company that started from the Royal Adventures of African Company, was bankrupted. Then they went on to the Royal African Company, which was led by the stewards that had Port Royal, South Carolina. They had Port Royal in Jamaica, and they had Cape Coastal in West Africa. The company Africa ran the transatlantic slave trade that you're speaking about.
Brother,
Hold on, I'm almost done. Because
okay.
I'm almost done. Africa wasn't called Africa at this time. The continent was not called Africa at this time. Not until after the scramble of Africa, and that'll be the late 1800s. One more source, OG. I'm gonna put this up, and I'm gonna get out. I'm gonna let the brothers build.
Did we put this one up? This is the one.
Okay, I'm up. Yes, sir. All right. So right here, have you ever heard of the African Association, brother?
Yes, sir.
I have not.
Okay, the African Association created June 9th. I don't even need this up. June 9th, 1788. What was its purpose? To discover the interior parts of Africa. Why? Because the Europeans, if they say slavery started 1492, 1619, 1526, wherever they want to start, their expiration, this is the expiration of Africa. And that was June 9, 1788. But the Trade Embargo Act is 1807. So you only have a few years to get to where you're trying to get to if you're trying to make a slave narrative, right? Now, not only that, but this company was formed in London, as all other companies with the title African on it. So, like I asked Jabari, my dear brother, Professor Jabari, why does all European companies during colonial time have the title African, and we don't see the country Africa with the title? You can pull it up, you can Google it, you can AI it, but Africa, the continent, was not called that. In 1788, this is the height of the slave trade, what they tell us. But this is this discovery. This is them first beginning to join. It don't come until 1841 until where you get what's called the Niger expedition, which where they had a language barrier and they had to create these new languages. 1832, you get Yoruba, John Rabon and Isaac Crowder. They're gonna come together to create the Yoruba language.
What do you mean created?
Okay, it wasn't a language. When the European got there, they had a problem, a language barrier. They couldn't communicate. So what they did was created languages for them to speak. We take Hannah Kilham from the Society of Friends, the same people they created your LME Church and your Prince Hall Freemasonry, right? The Quakers. Well, Hannah Kilham is the first to or the Mende language, what they call the Mende people out of Sierra Leone. This is easy to look up. Hannah Kilham. I'm giving the names. And so one more last thing on the ships, and I'm gonna get out of the way. This is my last one about the ships. Boom. So again, like I say, if I'm gonna talk about it, I'm gonna go. So we right here in Quaker territory at the oldest maritime museum. A lot of people say, "What are ships?" The ships are here. They have the ships. This is right off the Atlantic. This is where the real slave trade came from. It did not happen out of Europe, what we think. Don't worry about it. I'll show you on here. So these are some of the shops at the time. Every historical marker we pass, these people are going to be of indigenous lineage, and they're going to be the ship. Like Paul Slocum, I ran into him, or you might know him as Paul Cuffey. But these are the ships. This is where it all happened at. Let me get back to so you can see some of these ships. These are the oldest ships. This is the largest maritime in America. Now, I'll say that. Now, this is me. Bristol, chop the wood for the boats, and Long Island, Connecticut, where they ran the routes to the West Indies. All right. Now, this is me at Yale University, Peabody Museum. this is me right here in Westminster, UK. So I visit Bristol, I visit different places in the UK as well to get this information. I didn't stop there. I'm in Boston, Massachusetts now, because we're going through the 13 colonies to find this true story, what actually happened. But our land there, Africa at the time, brother, that you're speaking about, was not, the continent was not called Africa. Africa come from a free people out of North Africa. Now we was having a North African conversation. Maybe it'll be a different conversation. But the West Africans didn't have the knowledge or science of seafaring, so we would not see them there. That's why the Out of Africa theory, created in 1985, Rebecca Cann, the mitochondrial Eve gene, Out of Africa theory in the 80s, didn't come to 1980s. I'm pretty sure you're older than that. Mm-hmm. And that they're saying that they walked out. But why are they saying they walked out? Because Africans didn't have, West Africans did not have the ability of seafaring. So it would be impossible. North Africa, you'll probably have a different story. And I have to go in a different PowerPoint to show you that as we walk that down. But I leave it on. I've been talking too much.
Now, big brother, you said the west side didn't have ships?
No, sir. No, sir. They didn't have ships. They didn't have infrastructure. And we see that through the writings of people like Henry Turner, one of the guys one of the AME pastors who went over with the Sierra Leone company, with the American Colonization Society. He wrote back. They wasn't paying the people. Get these people out of here. They're being great. They're being unalive because they have nowhere to settle. So they're going into the interior ports, and some of them are not coming back. So he only went for a 90-day, and a lot of his people on that voyage were unalive to sicknesses and different diseases. So all of this is clear. I can pull the records up of the now.
Well, I'm just a little confused. I thought Mansa Musa back around 900 or so had 1,000 ships. Is that a lie?
Mansa Musa never existed, OG.
That was a lie.
That was a lie created in North America. That's why the people from Mali and Timbuktu, they never heard of Mansa Musa. That story was created here by people that look like us, who wanted us to grow this infinity for Africa. We have to understand this. There was never a person that looked like us that told us, people in America, that the Negro in America had culture in Africa. It was no one that looked like us. That came from a YT man named Melville Herkovich. I'm not here to argue. I can prove it without a shadow of a doubt. Melville Herkovich, 1923. The NRC he was funded by. The money came from the eugenics movement. The eugenics had a sister company, NRC, who funded them. He's not gonna. He started measuring skulls, nose, eyes, lips, and then we hear people that look like us or so-called master teachers come tell us, "Oh, well, you got big lip, wide nose, big lips, and all of this here." When this is scientific racism that was created by Uwish man who wasn't for us. Now he got the funding from the Rockefellers, and in 1958 he got the Special Defense Act. That's when the government joined in and started putting African language like Yoruba, Swahili, and things of this nature into colleges like UCLA, Columbia, so on and so forth. But
and all of this was to trick us out of our spot here and want to go to Africa.
Well, in the beginning, in the early 20th century, as we see with Garvey, they wanted us to go to Africa. But see, what did it change? It changed in 1969 with a man named John Henry Clark. John Henry Clark came, and hold on, because I think I got that. I can pull that shit up. I got that PowerPoint up already. So it's going to change when John Henry Clark comes. All right, you know what? Saluggy day, OG. I got it pulled up. Instead of me just saying it, We'll put it up on the screen.
Okay.
So right here, our great Dr. John Henry Clark. How did he become so famous? Well, this guy that told us that Negroes in America had a culture and their culture was in Africa. This was an understudent. He created the African colonization, African Association. So if we come up right here, here you go. Melville Herkovitz, anthropologist on Africa. This is the guy who came and told people. Now, right here, I can show you where the feds got in it. The National Defense Education Act, 1958. The program had no interest in Africa. Okay, and then they're gonna set out to look for it. The program began in 58, surveying resources in the language field. Not only were resources in African language found to be in critical short supply, okay, but the greater part of resources were available with lying follow. In 58, they sent 10 African linguists to the United States. Only one was fully occupied with teaching and researching in African languages. So what did they do? They started looking for people that look like us, come from our community, to learn this and take it back to our people. Well, right here, here's the numbers. This is how far the research goes. We can find the federal support where they start bringing in Afrikaners, the Iwi, or Swahili, Yoruba, Igbo. We know when they brought it. The founding of the African Studies Association. The African Studies Association is going to be created by Melville Herkovitz. Now, through the student movements, here go the African Studies Association. When the Black Caucus of the ASA, which means Dr. John Henry Clark was a part of the African Studies Association, a part of this movement that's going to teach Negroes that they do have a culture, they're not savages, their culture is in Africa. Well, here comes Clark, led by who? John Henry Clark, who founded the African Heritage Studies Association. All right. Now, who did he do it with? Leonard Jeffries. Leonard Jeffries was a part of the Peace Corps. He went as a missionary over to Africa.
They were our heroes for decades, man. You're taking them away from me.
Well, hold on. We're not done. Watch this, OG. The best. So, like the question you asked me, did they want to take us from here and take us from over there? Well, John Henry Clark was smart. In the New York Times, he have a return in spirit, right? So he learned from, so he emphasized, however, the objective was not to restore in a strict sense of back to Africa movement, the kind of late Marcus Garvey espoused, right? So they wanted to physically move you there. So he learned from that. So he said most of us will probably not go back to Africa, except in mind, like my brother on the panel. Spirit and interest. My brother spoke of his interest in the future towards Africa. Well, this is aligning with the agenda that they wanted. They understood that since the 1700s, people didn't want to leave. So in the 1970s, he said, instead of taking you back physically, we will take you there mentally.
And that was
we'll take you there mentally.
That's the
we
whole
will enslave you mentally. And so we'll keep their body here. He said the association is expected to bring about a new perspective on African history. Okay, it was a way to make it relevant to current problems of Black people everywhere. So now we hear people say, "Oh, the cops not gonna stop being action. Is you from this place or that place?" All of that was created to create this reality. So again, he says it was organized by members of Black Caucus of a predominantly white group known as the African Studies Association. Can nobody write or speak on Africa unless it was the white boys? Now they had people who worked under them, who was brought to us as leaders, who we deem as master teachers and heroes, that was going to bring us this hidden history of us. But what it did was took away our history. It took us mentally from the ground and the bones as our ancestors and fought, made contributions, you know, shed blood, went through these migrations, forced migrations, and we're here. This is Franz Boas. This is Franz Boas right here. This is the guy right here during the Harlem Renaissance. He's gonna have a student that's gonna be very influential. This is Rosenwald, another guy who led the YMCA, where you're gonna get your and he's also the one who did the experiment, the Tuskegee experiment. All right, really? Who was his buddy? Who he had on his side? There you go, right there.
W.D. Du Bois, yeah.
Booker T. He had Booker T with him. Now, Washington.
Did Du Bois know he was being pimped?
Yeah, he knew he was being pimped. Okay, you know, we want to know how? He go the letter. What a letter is.
Man, you done took away my favorite hero.
Yeah, he wrote a letter. He sat on the board. Why? Because he paid. You see Booker T right there and all the rest of them white tees. He gonna lead out this plan. Now the boys had another plan, 10 of the 10. Why? Because he was funded by other money. Who was he funded by? Washington funded by, exactly, and the Jew name is Joel Springham. How do we know that? Now we know Garvey was compromised. Ernest Cox, he wrote a book called White America. In that book, he said, leaders arises will be a leader will arise and be the foremost individual in annals of Negro history. They say Marcus Garvey is the greatest black leader, right? Our mixed breeds transferred to Africa could become a social aristocracy, such as the Fula of Nigeria, the Hema of Uganda, the Zulu of the South, all who have Caucasian blood coursing through their veins, and all who should be above the true Negro in culture. The mixed breeds would be the ethnic and cultural link to connect the Negroes of Africa with whites of Europe and America. Not only that, Garvey said that the Anglo-Saxon Club, these people who signed his check and who got him his boat, he said they are far great. The Negro concern is a better friend of the race than all other groups. Okay, now we come here, Julius Rosenwald, like I brought up. Marcus Garvey lived up to his reputation. 1928, he called the white NAACP leadership spies. So you have Pan-Africans, you have 3 different forms, what a lot of people don't know, because they're paid by different, they have different backing. So this is Joel Springer. This is the guy who's going to pay for the 1919 Pan-African Congress. This is his brother, Arthur Springer. He's going to meet W. Du Bois at Harvard, and they're going to bring him in. So you get the Pan-African Congress of 1919, which he had no invitation, but he was sent there. He was sent there to silence the Negroes who had won the World War I and was going to talk about their experiences that they, and he went there to block that.
Du Bois did?
There you go right there. Yeah, Du Bois.
He went to block the veterans' voice?
Exactly. And they tell you right here, he had no invitation. They put him on a boat and sent him there. Now, when we come here, the Pan-African Congress in 1919 was unplanned, hasty and surprising in preparation of execution. While Du Bois chose September 1918 month meeting on the board of directors of National Association for the NAACP, for he worked as an editor, which they didn't even want him, but Springham knew that he can use him. Now, right here, he goes, when we come here, Garvey, the NAACP are black organizations than more gullible integrationists of NAACP. When W. Du Bois, chief black NAACP, set out for Liberia, his Garveyite editor, who was John Edward Bruce. Now we know Bruce is the one who founded the they was having it at his house and they moved the meetings over. It'll come to me, or it might be on
the Niagara movement.
Nah, that was before. That was
before.
in the 1800s.
My
So Bruce, here you go right here. Bruce tells you this is why Garvey never went to Africa, because at that time the Barclays was the president, and you know they've been a president everywhere, through the islands, Jamaica, Sierra Leone. You got the Barclays Center in New York, and you got the Barclays running in power over here in Africa at this time. So, like he told him, dear chief, he said, if you think worthwhile, the cable in my name to follow the Haywoods at once, Du Bois crisis on the trip to Africa, bent on mischief due to failure of his Pan-African Congress. So the Pan-African Congress failed. This is another Pan-African who's laughing at him. What did he say? It was financed by Joel Springham, a Jew, and other interests, white, inimical to African independence. Watch him. Watch him. Letter follows. Make no comments. Yours truly, Bruce Grit. Schumberg, my bad.
Hey, Chief, man, you dropping these receipts, man. You going deep on us, man. You know what I'm saying?
I'm letting.
Tell me about the museum. Tell me about the Harlem Museum.
I want to say to the brother William Jones, man, you know that. Don't take it personal, brother. I understand, you know, if the African thing, and I mean, we all trying to, you know, get there, and but, you know, we here on this land right here, and this brother dropping these receipts.
No, I understand that.
You know,
I understand that.
And it's nothing personal, brother.
No, I don't take it. I don't take it personal. I'm a student. I'm a teacher. I'm a student. I'm listening.
Oh, indeed.
But I would like to point out that, you know, when I was speaking, I got interrupted, and you said that I went on for 20 minutes, and you shut me down. And this brother, and once again, I appreciate all the information you just shared. You allowed that brother to speak uninterrupted. So it just seems to me that the idea is to get one perspective.
No, sir.
I'm not directing this at you, sir. I'm not directing this at you.
I understand.
I'm just saying,
you have the floor now.
No, I'm handleable, brother.
No, I'm not directing.
Okay, my bad. I'm being handleable.
Please listen to what I'm saying. Please listen to what I'm saying.
No,
I'm simply saying that, as I said when I was here last week, you know, my research, my findings haven't led me to these conclusions. Okay,
right.
I just a different school of thought. But my thing is, once again, is this bigger than the issues that we face? This doesn't prevent me from coming on this platform and talking about it. But like I said, when I was speaking, I was told that I was talking too long. It was
brother. I already apologized. You know,
it's cool. But I'm just saying. I'm just saying that. And you're still being interrupted.
I was feeling that.
Mm-hmm. I'm still being interrupted. I'm simply pointing out that if we're going to have a conversation, that's what it should be.
Yes, sir. No problem. I apologize twice.
No, it's cool. It's cool.
Do you have a rebuttal to anything, or do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any.
To speak about after what I just presented. You have the floor, brother.
Okay. When you asked the question about an affinity for Africa, I addressed that question. Now, once again, whatever happens after that, whatever they did with that, whatever interference came with that, that is what it is. And I'm not suggesting that that's not true. I'm not suggesting that there wasn't active interference. Okay. What I am saying is Africans in America, once we were brought here against our will, okay, absolutely had an affinity and a desire to return to Africa. Okay. Now, once again, when people took that and ran with it and began to interfere, as you pointed out, with different things and so forth, so be it. That's what happened. But the original question was, when did Black folks show an affinity? And we've always shown an affinity from the beginning.
Are you speaking of Black Europeans, brother? No, I'm in the break.
I'm talking about Black folks that were brought over here against our will.
Can you name one?
What are you talking about?
Can you name a person who actually went through this experience, brother, called the Mustafa or this African slave trade? Can you name one person?
There's scores of people. You
Okay,
have records.
One.
You have, you have records. Yes. Well, let me throw this.
It should be easy for you then.
No, let him talk.
Did you know? You know what, brother? Y'all had is.
No. Come on.
No,
man.
I'm done. No, I'm done. I'm
Let
done.
him
Because
talk.
once again,
all right.
you got it. I'm done.
Let me come to the
I'm
throne.
done.
One thing I saw when Roots came out, I was in the 5th grade. We had to do a report on Roots. I remember it. I don't even think Topcast, you weren't even born then. But
the
rest of us, we bought into Roots. Now, one fact I've learned is that Alex Haley plagiarized the whole damn story. And I'm mad because it was based here in Maryland, in Annapolis. Right. And we all saw it. He was Kunta Kinte. They put that heat on him, and he's Toby. We watched it. It was a week long. And then they came with a follow-up series. So we all boarded. And I tell you, to learn that Marcus Garvey and Du Bois was getting a check, oh my God,
we can keep going. We can keep naming more.
I don't even want
Highlander
my mom and my daddy, my hero.
Henry when they created the African Colonization Society, when that stopped working, they used Henry Garnett to create the African Colonization Society to move our people there. So the same that when people went buying into the African Association,
I'm guilty.
Here comes Dr. John Henry Clark speaking in our place. And we worship him as a master teacher when his family was of Indian origin. I can play a tape right now. Runoko Rashidi, Cherokee, Booker T. Coleman. He had like 4 or 5 different tribes. Leonard Jeffries, his mama told him to teach Powhatan history. His grandfather wanted an Indian burial. He said, I can't right now, Mom. I'm working with Alex Haley. We have who else? The list goes on of all of these master teachers of Pan-Africanism acknowledging that their family come. Professor James Miles, Chicora Indian, say he swept the grave sites of his family on their land in South Carolina, the Chicora Indians. But later they found out Shaka Amo said he watched Roots and discovered he was an African. But when they were a child, when we're at the age of understanding, we're told that we have American Indian heritage. But when we go out into the world, we're taught that the way that we speak is not proper English or the way it's being spoken. Like me, I'm 2nd generation from the country, so some words you might not understand, but I don't speak King English. I speak Indian English. So my thing is this: the people that they gave them to us for a reason, because they were one of them. They helped them bring about everything that happened to us. I always tell people it wasn't YT people who did this to us, as we spoke with Gunnar Beck the other day, and he had to admit it. The people that did this to us that looked like us. The problem was they put us all in one political basket and labeled us as Black, African American, these terms that they created for us to group us in one population, when the truth of the matter is we all have individual stories. Some people, if you look up, the slave masters was Black. I'll show you right now. I go through the records from 1810 to 1860 and show you from Alabama, Mississippi. You can think of the most racist place, and I'll show you that it's a B next to every slave master name. So where are these white slave masters? When they speak about Native Americans had us enslaved on the Trail of Tears, we go back through the records of Indian Territory, there's a B by every slave master name. These are things that I have found throughout my research that I can
What's the for?
Without a shadow of doubt.
What's the B for?
They label it in Black. They're sending Black.
Can you tell me anything? This sister, she's a big supporter
Sweet
of
Feather,
horrors.
Side Feather, Philadelphia.
Yeah, the H1, the E1B1. Do you know anything about the haploid group? Because I'm green, totally green.
When I get to science, we go to scientific racism. Morton brought out the schools that started it, so we'll get a follow up on that through as we see Emery's, who would be Darwin's grandfather. He was into these things. Well, later his son will become the leader of the eugenics, British eugenics, and over what is called the geographical society. These two things that's going to connect it. Now, once they get over to America, that's when the far as the DNA, 1990 they come out with the Human Genome Project, which they say they have in New York, the African burial ground. Now I can pull it up too, but I don't want to take all day, which I can show you. They have a big Sankofa on there. And the museum today can't tell you that that's a Sankofa. They have came back and said that the Sankofa didn't exist at that time. Not only that, but the Sankofa is a Euro-American. It's Euro-American. Nothing about it Africa. Sankofa didn't exist at the time of that burial site of the ABG. So they had to come back and take it out. So
they were making up stuff?
Oh, they making it up. And they said it was black leaders who protested that the bones should be tested. So while that was happening, you had the Human Genome Project over at Howard University. They got a $24 million grant to investigate this. I can pull up all the sources right now on my ABG. I can put it all up on my PowerPoint. They gave them the money. Now, one of the geneticists on the test is a guy by the name, he built African ancestry. Anybody know the guy name?
What's his name?
Built African ancestry.
Ain't that's Kittles or somebody carried
you go, Rick Kittles.
Yeah.
He was on that project 1990 when the government paid Howard University $24 million to make these bones that they found under this building in New York African. So they used things, they said even though no proof, the bones that they recorded was indigenous and European, but the anthropology, see, they use anthropology and science to write over the story or be, if they use anthropology and science, now they're the authority. Okay, how long you been here? I've been here 10,000 years. Okay, well, I found a bone. I got a rock. This rock is 20,000 years old. So now I can tell the story better than you can. That's what science was for. But yeah, so Rick Kittles was on that. So it's not, it was by design. So it was another guy that worked on that, Michael. He ended up, and William and Mary, he wrote about it, and he talked about how the government funded Rick Kittles to create African ancestry. But then putting their DNA, spitting in the tube and giving them to create a database.
Can I ask you a question real quick, Tucker?
Yes, sir.
Could you expand on the topic of this same topic down there amongst the Muskogee Creek with them saying that it was Africans amongst them? Could you expand on that?
Yes, sir. I think the best example would be 1866 after the Civil War. Reason why I say that is because there was a battle took place, a civil war. The first Creek Civil War, 1810, 1811. That'll be the first. That's when people adopted the civilization plan.
Right.
From George Washington. He sent down one of his top lieutenants down there. He married a red stick lady named Lavina Downs. Now, through that connection right there, you have your first. As we see them fight on, and Cherokees fight on side of Andrew Jackson and their party as they come into Georgia and Florida, Jacksonville area. Now, and after the Civil War, during the Civil War, the Confederate Albert Pike is gonna take the okay. So under the Treaty of Hopewell, we gotta go back to the 1780 Treaty of Hopewell.
Okay.
The Creek, the Cherokee, and the Choctaw signed up to be under the jurisdiction of the United States. Now, in 1860s, Albert Pike is going to take them out of the jurisdiction of the United States, get money that was owed to them for lands, and he's going to bring them into the Confederates. That's how they make it to the Confederates. Who signed it from the Creek side? Well, you had William McIntosh, who signed the Treaty of Dancing Rabbit, which was to cede over 3 million acres, but they ended up getting it back. They unalived him for that. Well, Chili McIntosh's older boy went on the run. So once they make it to Oklahoma, you have Chili McIntosh and Daniel McIntosh. They're going to sign with Albert Pike, and they're going to forge the names of the other Muskogee Creek chiefs, such as Obadiah Hoyer. Obadiah Hoyer will lead a band, so they will be rushed. The Confederates are going to plan an attack on what they call the traditional Indians in Oklahoma, which would be us. They're going to plan the attack, and with a ragtag army, we defeated them. The people left. Abraham Lincoln had just created something for people who were called contraband, because in the United States, Indian not taxed, or Indians outside the jurisdiction of the United States, they didn't have a label for you, a title, a status for you, so they called them contraband. Well, he's going to move to something called the United States. He's going to create the United States Colored Truth, USCTs in Kansas. If you look it up, it's called the Trail of Blood on Ice. Well, the Creek Indians, Cherokee, Choctaw, they're going to go to Kansas and fight in the 1st and 2nd Infantry of the USCTs, and they're going to defeat the last Confederate general, which is Stan Wadey, who was a part of the Treaty Party back, the Treaty of Chota back in Georgia, of Major Riggs. This is going to be his family member. Major Riggs was unalive, Buck Wadey, right? Yeah, and John. Now, the only one got away was Stan Wadey. Stan Wadey will be the last general captured, and that's going to end the Civil War. Now they come back to the table. Now they created the 14th Amendment to bring them into citizenship if you would denounce your tribe. Now, for those who stayed in their tribe, they created something called the 1866 Treaty. In that treaty, on the 2nd, you have Article 2 and Article 4. Article 2, they speak about Africans who have no interest in the land. Not until 1870 will Africans even have the ability to do that. This is 1866. Now they're going to come back March 22nd, 1870. March 22nd, 1870, and they're going to create another treaty with them, which states the same. In Article 4, it says the freedmen. The freedmen got 100, we speaking about Creek, they got 160 acres in Indian territory. They didn't have this is no Native Americans or nobody. This is yours, because the Native American wasn't there. That's why none of their names are on the list. So this is what we can prove. March 22nd, 1870, they make a new treaty saying the same thing. Now, what they just done with the Creek Indians down in Oklahoma, they went under Article 2, which give them no interest in the land. As we see Sarah Rector, there's a movie coming out next month with her. She was the richest lady in the world.
She was 9 years old when she was the first millionaire. Can I bounce a question to you real quick?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now, this is personal to me because my family come from a place called Coosa in Alabama. And we was there prior to the 1832 treaty. And we was there when Andrew Jackson came along. The people that enslaved my family were the ones that settled the place with him building that federal road from Washington, D.C. to Louisiana down there.
Yeah, for 1803, federal road came in 1807. Right.
So I can connect my line to the 1790 Treaty of New York when Alexander McGillivray
from the society.
Right.
Hold on, my bad, OG. Watch this here. I want you to understand something. Alexander McGillivray, his mother was was a Cosati Indian. That's what
Right.
I am. Now the Alabama and
we got
Cosati
something
are
in
the
common.
same.
We got
Exactly.
something in common.
Because hold on, I'm gonna say this here: the Cosati and the Kusa are the same people.
Right, all the way from South
All right,
Carolina.
I just want to throw that in.
I'm with it because
Okay.
I know that in the Carolinas we would spell KUSA, and then we could start COOSA when we got
You
to
get us in
Alabama.
Florida too. We were the first with the Temuco and the enslaved YT people here. That's a fact.
I know you probably heard it. See, your research is in depth, so I'm just not getting clarity of my position of it all. I know that William McIntosh, that Lower Creek, got a case in like 1817 with Reuben Jordan that was a slave master of my family. And we stayed behind while the other ones walked out to Oklahoma. So we got land allotments right there in Alabama because, you know, it's 18 counties in Alabama that was Indian territory when the other ones walked out to Oklahoma.
Yeah, exactly. Some hid in the mountains as well.
Right. So this is where I'm at. This is the quagmire where I'm at because I'm learning. I'm learning the slavery thing. Then I'm learning that, hey, not only that I'm Muskogee or this Alabama tribe, that we come from the head mother town. We still got land right there today. We never left. You get what I mean? And this is what I'm trying to express to people. You know, I hear everybody's conjecture. You know what I'm saying? I'm not at odds with nobody's rhetoric or their knowledge base, but we do come from Coosa, or we do come from around Talladega, Sylacauga, Sakapatoy. That's my family. And
all those Isamaya, all of that.
Yeah, Isamaya. Yeah.
You got Isamaya, you got Chantel Miles down there.
So you know about it. So that's the case. So I was trying to express to us that the connection between the Isamaya is a connection between the Isamaya and the Olmecs. Am I missing something?
Well, the Olmec be an older time period. I'll say that. Now, the Isamaya ran the Yucatan, Galveston Island, Mississippi, Alabama, all the way to Florida. So they created the canals and things like that, Chattanooga and things of this here. You're speaking of all the way up through the Carolinas, Tennessee area until the West Coast came down. The West Coast.
See, that's where I'm at because I see when this. So I'm gonna go a little bit farther back in history. I see when DeSoto comes up in there, he meet this Okute tribe and was this Ocute tribe, and these Okute tribe turned into what we know as Coweta or the Lower Creeks. And then now I'm seeing
that'll be the weaker of the tribe.
Right, so now I'm seeing that these settlers had deals with these Lower Creeks and they enslaved us. And that's where I'm at.
Coweta was the town that they got into. You had a guy down there running it named Big Warrior, who had affiliation with William McIntosh. Now, William McIntosh's family member is also the governor at that time, too. So we do want to point that out.
But guess what I got, though, cousin? Guess what I got? I got a 1790 reconstructed census of Georgia, which lists William McIntosh and Donald McIntosh, neighbors to the people that enslaved me. And I could trace them from there all the way to the Coosa chieftain. I got the records and the correspondence to Washington, to the Pantine Leslie Company. I think, and what I've been trying to tell
Leslie Company, they're gonna be instrumental in that Georgia takeover, which is gonna take place. Because Georgia was hard for them to get, so they had what was called land lotteries.
Right.
I got a live lecture on the making of the true Gullah Geechee, and I speak about a lot of this. But yeah,
that's
Georgia,
the Guale, right? The Guale, the Guala Indians out of South Carolina.
Yeah, well, we call them Gullah. They want us to call them Wiley. Wow. When we look at it, we country. That's Gullah.
That's Gullah.
What they don't want us to know is that that's Gullah. So that changed because the first person to coin the term Gullah Geechee was a YT man. I hate to see it.
Yeah, I know.
So the Gullah, and then you had a lady Wright, and it was a historical, not historical Churches of the South. That's for the Clotilda, but they used the same story. This Calusa, he's gonna be a character in this too. But yeah, that it come from the Blue Ridge Plantation. One of those, I'll pull it up for y'all if I need to though. But yeah, that's how they created that Gullah Geechee identity of these Africans. And it was a Wachi lady did it, and she got a lot of pushback from other people of that time saying, "Where's the proof?"
If that Blue Ridge Plantation got anything to do with George Galphin, Galphin?
No, it was a fiction. It was a fiction book.
Okay.
Now, what happened was the NAACP and people like Du Bois and them, they backed it and said this is 100% accurate, while other people in the South said, "Where's the proof? Where's the people?"
Okay.
Where's the people? Yeah.
I got a newspaper article, like I shared with Doni when I first got on, with the oldest person in our family. He lived 126, and they describe him as Creek. He tells the story of us. You get what I mean? And our story is diverse right there in that part. You know, like all the Muskogee tribes, and I understand the Confederation. I can see the Natchez, I can see the Shawnee, I can see the Utah, I can even see the Maryland tribes even coming down there seeking refuge amongst the Creeks from fleeing that Iroquois. You know, I just want us, you know, my job is to try to bring out some clarity and try to express my family, because I can record and I can share the documents with you, brother, all the way back to the 1734. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Up in Maryland, Prince George's County, Maryland, we was enslaved. Okay, you ever heard of Ann Hutchins? Ann Hutchinson, this Quaker lady. Her father.
Yeah.
You ever heard of the Marbury family?
Uh-huh.
That's who enslaved us. That's who wrote to George Washington about the Creeks and the Panton Company. So we moved with that family from Maryland 1640s all the way down to Alabama to emancipation. And we could trace them because they was dealing with the king and they was dealing with the who's who here. We could actually got the documents to show that we are natives and we was traded. You get what I mean? Piscataway Canoy Indians. That's Connoi. I'm just learning that. We got a plantation up in Prince George's County called Apador, Wyoming. They got archaeological surveys of this land here. So it's with us, it's the documentation. I know that them Creeks that went out there with Chili and Rowley, them was our enemies. You get what I mean? Those the people that got us in this situation we in. I know I'm spilling the beans, right?
They were melanated people. They sister married and came to Texas and was the richest woman in Texas.
You talking about Elizabeth? Wait. So you know about them Graysons then?
The Graysons, yeah, the Graysons, Cherokees too. You got them in Cherokee.
Right.
Yeah, you got Chickasaw and Choctaw Chickasaw Graysons too. And most of them kind of banded together once they got the Indian territory too. Hey, OG, if it's okay if I show Brother Hannibal something.
Bring it on.
Okay. So right here, this what you talking about, huh?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. And these are the
y'all break that down for us regular people.
All right, if we do that, I have to go to the beginning. So
I think that's my father.
All right.
Let the games begin.
I'm gonna drop some knowledge on that map you just showed.
The Gullah Geechee.
Gullah Geechee.
Yeah.
All right. What's your question on the Gullah Geechee?
Were they always here? Where were they located at? And was this their land first?
I hate to break it to you. And shout out to my Gullah Geechee out there, man. Y'all don't understand no big Indian business. I gotta tell you.
About to turn up a little bit. Come on. All right.
There's no such thing as a Gullah Geechee. The Gullah Geechee was made an African story created by white people, for one, okay? And we're going to name some names tonight. So the Gullah Geechee are people off the Sea Island. It is stretched through Georgia up through South Carolina. 1526, the Spanish came over. It took them 8 attempts until they finally established themselves in Florida. And they had the help of Timucuan Indians. These Timucuan Indians, they were seafaring people. They were melanated people, just like us, copper people. You had Arawak, Taino. These are people out of the islands. I-80, Jamaica, Cuba played a great part. So you had different tribes like the Mayaka. You had these different people, and they built on Lake Okeechobee. So right there, what I'm doing is building up this area that they say that the Gullah Geechee are coming from. We started with the Spanish coming over in the indigenous tribes that was in that area. So Jacksonville, 1563, you would get Fort Caroline. The French would show up with Rabat. So they'll leave their settlement to be dismantled by 1865. On the Spanish 8th attempt, they will finally establish San Marcos, which would be built under Indian slavery of the Smookman Indians. Like I said, these people built the shell mounds. They weren't necessarily agricultural. They built on the sea. They also were a stock of Mayans. You had Chippers Mayans out of Guatemala. You had Itza Maya, the Chantal Maya. So back then, Florida, it was much closer back then because some of that land is underwater right now. So you had the whole Gulf right there. Well, all the way up to Sea Islands, you had a big nation there called the Escamouco tribe. This nation fought off the Spanish settlement. But where they end up settling there, and they'll rival those in the Sea Islands of South Carolina, where it's all going to start. So the British is going to come, and May 14, 1607, Jamestown, Virginia is named after King James of the Bible, which is a black man, 1603, united the crowns and ruled Scotland, Ireland, and England. Now, these are black people. This is the Stuart family. They're going to come from the Tudor family, which is Queen Elizabeth I. After she passed away, her cousin James, King James, took the crown. They'll settle in Virginia. The charters in the 13 colonies will be passed out by people that look like us. So you had Charles I, who will go through the English Civil Wars and die. Oliver Cromwell and the Protestants who killed him. His son, Charles II, who Charleston, South Carolina is named after, which is very important because this is what these Gullah Geechee people are going to be said to populate. So Charleston, South Carolina in 1670, that fort will be created and is named after King Charles, known as the Black Boy King. After he will come back to the throne, they get New York from the Dutch, which was Dutch West Indies, 1621. And 1626 with Peter Manute, that's when ODB, rest in peace, say his family sold Manhattan to these people. So it'll be Peter Manute. So they end up going to war. Domestic Indian slave trade would start up in that area, up in New York. And it would travel down into the Great Lakes. In 1620s, to get to Virginia, we'll have a major fight there in Virginia. So what's going to happen is the 13 colonies is going to expand into the southeast. They're going to want to expand it to the southeast. 1703, you get the Queen Anne War. Now they're fighting for Port Royal, South Carolina, and they're trying to get the port. This is all commercial business. I want y'all to keep that in mind too. They're only fighting for the ports that are operating in international trade. Very, very important we keep that in mind. So these nations down there, you're going to have a domestic slave trade. And people will show up in the late 1600s called the Goose Creek Men. They were allied with a people called the Yamasee. The Yamasee would become slave raiders. They would raid territory. It was by deer skin. So they would raid rival tribes or smaller tribes. Now, I do want to throw this out there, not to make the Yamasee look bad, because it was a point that the tribes that was coming out of Georgia, tribes coming out of Florida, they were at a point kidnapping people out of this area and bringing the Yamasee in the slaves. So now the tides have turned once the British got there for us. This population that's going to be down there in the Sea Islands is going to grow out of this. Tuscarora War, 1711, 1713, 1715, you get the Yamasee War, and 1739, you get the Stono Rebellion, which they say happened by an African named Jeremy, and he kidnapped and ran away. All bullshit. All of the maps, there's a nation called Stono that actually traded in that area of Charleston. All the way through the 1600s and the 1680s, they went to war with them for their territory. They were like a thorn in their side. In 1740, they passed the Negro Act, which put them in the servitude and put laws on these individuals for this ride that the Indians caused in 1739. So we're going to get to 1754 is the French and Indian War, 1763. The French will lose all of their trade port to the British. In 1733, James Oglethorpe will come over, who was a defender of the Stuart family, the Jacobites, and found in Darien County, Georgia, and then they'll get Savannah. This will give them an opportunity to attack Florida now. Very important, walking it down. Long story short, the Indians that migrate down into Florida and Georgia area, they'll be attacked by Andrew Jackson. They wanted this area down there because they were moving from deer skin. It went from beaver pelt to deer skin, and now it's moving to agriculture. So we get down here, this population of Indians are moving downward into the south, getting away from this encroachment or these Indian raiders. And so they're going to make a confederation together to come together. In 1803, you get the Louisiana Purchase. 1807, you get the French Creek Civil War down there. You had a Red Stick War first, that's the Creek. And then in 1815, you got Fort Mill, Horseshoe Bend, and you had Fort Jackson. Those that lost in Georgia and Fort Jackson went to Florida in 1816, they became what's called the Seminole Indians. So you have these people that came and amalgamated together, different nations that was there, who was going to fight off this newly United States 13 colonies who looked to expand. And so they wanted to come down and control the resources. Now let's fast forward. Let's get into the real information. The first person to ever mention a Gullah Geechee was a guy by the name of John Bennett, a white boy. He was an American author who was best known for children's books. He wrote and illustrated some, especially drawing from the Gullah culture. He is considered to be the leading figure of the Charleston Renaissance. The next time we hear what is popular for, later they'll call him Gullah Geechee. Now you have the Ogeechee River down there, which the name Geechee actually derives from. So it's not coming from Africa. They said it comes from Angola. That theory came from a fiction book wrote by a white woman named Julia Peterkin. This is going to be created in the 20th century when they're going to start Africanizing things. Now, with the Gullah Geechee, you're going to have a program that's going to come through called eugenics. Now, the eugenics program is going to have an offspring program that's going to fund a guy named Franz Boas, who's the father of anthropology in America. Franz Boas is going to have his student is going to be a guy by the name of Melville Herskovich. He's the father of African studies. Okay, he's a white who's the father of African studies. I want people to understand this here. It wasn't a black man that came and told you that you had a culture and your culture was Africa. It was this guy. So at the time, you had philanthropists come out. So you had the Peabody, starting with the Peabody. After the Civil War and the Reconstruction era, they're going to get together with these bankers and they're going to take over the Collegiate Institute. They're going to get all of these teachers on the payroll so much to the Senate had to step in and make everyone open up the files to see who was on payroll. Because what they did was came in and reconstructed history. So you had Rockefeller create the University of Chicago. A lot of quote unquote black leaders will go through this University of Chicago, where they basically went in there and reconstructed history. And this is what Afrocentrism comes. And so now this history, this lost history of the black man, this is where we're gonna start getting all of this history from. This Africanized history from Africa, the slave stories, and all of these, such as the Gullah Geechee, right? Now Melville Herskovich is gonna have a student by the name of Lorenzo Dalturni. He's gonna be known as the father of the Gullah Geechee. He's going to go around to collect data in different areas on these people. Now, he said he heard a Christian song called the Word Shout Song. And he said this is the connection that he made and said that the language that he heard from the people in the Sea Island is the same as the people in Africa. Now, before he died, he didn't make it. What had to happen was a white boy had to come. Joseph Apollo. He's going to come back in the 80s and say that he deciphered it and he's figured out the missing piece that Lorenzo Dalturni and Melville Herskovich was missing because they was using the Christian hymn in the 90s. This is who they're going to give it to. So your Gullah Geechee, I'm sorry, these are the founders of your Gullah Geechee, white folks. And it's not a problem with it, but they Africanized the story that was really happened to the indigenous people here.
Damn. Like the channel, like and subscribe. Do share. Planet Wells.
Yes.
Is your mind blown, Planet?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, because I didn't know, because I was trying to talk a lot of times and, whatever. But first, Chief Top Cat, hey, I feel you, yo. I said that earlier. Okay, I got love for you. All right. But the complexity of our story is so complex and has so many different avenues. So many different avenues, So we have to have our love and our patience for all of us. Yeah. And but this is quality information, and it's information that I feel in my spirit as well. And as always, I got love for everybody that tunes in to the Danny Glover Show. All of them.
So Big Chief, why did they want to do this historical move? Was it planned? Did they sit at a table, or they saw somebody doing it and say, well, let's run with it this way. I mean, what do you deduct?
Every treaty was signed by a Mason. Every single treaty. If we start with the Treaty of Fort Pitt, if we go into the Treaty of Easton, which is going to create the Sons of Tammany, which is going to end up in the Order of Red Men, what Gunnar Beck was speaking about the other day, and the Order of Pocahontas. Well, on our side, you're going to have the Masons and the Eastern Stars, which was created at the same time as the Order of Pocahontas. Why did they do it? Well, it was people that looked like us. Now, they wanted our resources, especially those in the southeast. As I said, they moved from beaver pelts, which would have been from the Iroquois migrating to the Great Lakes, coming back. That's the beaver pelt area. Once they get down to Virginia, in Carolina, it's the deer skin. But when they turn their focus down to the richest place in America, which would be the southeast, the deep south, it was agriculture. And so we feeding the world. This is where all the mounds are. These are ancient people, and they even use their military. That the military force of the Southeastern troops, after they created the Buffalo Soldiers and the Scouts, the military will adopt it. They even brought out an article and made a statue at the military school. The name escaped me right now. But yes, they created. They got their military fighting style from us, and they used the Buffalo Soldiers to go all around the world to basically colonize it. As we see with, from World War I, World War II, the Filipino War, the Spanish-American War, 1898. We went to war 25 years with the Native Americans. The Battle of what's called Creek, that would have been the last one. We saved them from starving. Every Native American has been put on a plantation after defeat by the Buffalo Soldiers, who were American Indians that came out of that southeastern region, who were our ancestors. Most of us is coming out of the country boy down here. Yeah, they took us around the world, to World War I, World War II, the Korean War, Vietnam. My grandfather's fought in all of those, and my dad fought in Desert Storm.
So I got a goofy question for you. I see it written on the comments, American. Is that what the word is? American, American? Or they just playing with Puerto Rican and the rest of the...
Nah, it's I see a lot of people, they have a lot of different names. Me, I don't really get into that.
But I want to say something right quick.
Yes, sir.
And man, boy, you're a cold piece, man, with the receipts, man.
Appreciate you.
And like I was saying initially, Donnie, people look towards Africa for these resources that we are using for the technology that's in play right now. But we have resources right here in America. And like I said, the Mother Earth over here is hiding these resources from these invaders right now. And some of the gold and some of these other resources that they're looking for, man, we got so many mounds and pyramids right here that it'll take another millennium for them to even try to get to 1/4 of them. You see what I'm saying? And if you pull that picture up right there, I remember I was looking at a show and the brother was saying, well, that the Africans came on slave ships to Virginia, and that was the bottom line. Well, here's a pyramid right here in Petersburg, Virginia, that predates any so-called African slave ships, and that right here to the left is the river that it sits on. So now y'all can see how big this pyramid right there in Petersburg is, and I got some more, that I have to actually pull them particular ones up, but who knows, man, what's in the majority of these joints, man. And I pulled up, like I said, man, I'm not a Moor, anything, but I respect Noble Drew Ali, and he said in one of his oral statements that I was getting while Kat was talking, and he said that that we were living up and down the Mississippi River before the European man came here. So now we're indigenous to this land, man, but I guess it's just gonna take some people longer than others to realize that. But I think that some of us that are from Africa, we might feel that in our bones, but I don't feel that in my bones, man. I feel my connection here, right here on Turtle Island. And one more thing before I go, brother.
Mm.
I don't know if you aware that I came up with a concept called the Million Matriarch March. So now just imagine, man, if we can get 1 million of the matriarchs to go on top of one of these and chant the right frequencies, man, what we can do. You agree with me on that, Elder Wells?
I do. And one of the biggest mistakes is limiting the burial mounds to just burial mounds. Those were also sites for ceremony.
True indeed.
Okay, to connect with that thread, okay, to the Great Spirit, to do the magic. Okay. Now, the invaders, whether they be black or white, did not have in their heart or their mind the ability to embrace that frequency. Okay? They're actually the polar opposites of that frequency. Right? So, in terms of the vast amount of information, okay, Top Cat has done a fabulous job of weaving through the bullshit. How deep this shit is. You know what I'm saying?
Got that
Because
right.
most homies is looking at the native thing like from Bonanza, yo. That's the real deal, though. Or Hollywood, or Cecil B. DeMille. But it's complex. That's why we must have a great compassion for our people, because it's that deep.
On that note, Big Brother Horace, I want you to go ahead and get those libations in.
Okay. All right. Here we go. I'm gonna start off well. Here we go. Start off with the Honorable Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the great Queen Neitha of Chicago, Illinois, who defeated 5 armies of invading Europeans that have been wiped from the pages of history because of that. The Most Honorable Empress Vadayasi, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Malcolm X, Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad, Dr. Delbert Blair, the Honorable Taj Tariq Bey and Dr. G, the Honorable Dr. Claude Anderson, Chief Redbird, Chief Warhorse, Dr. Francis C. Wilson, Dr. Arikana, Sister Shahrazad Ali, Mama T, Vicky Dillard, Sister Myra, Joy DeGroot, Patrice Lumumba, Professor P.L.O. Lumumba, C. Freeman Hill, Dr. Martin Luther King, Dr. Malachi Z. York, for sure, Omali, Yashatila, Julius Malema, President Ibrahim Traore, the beloved brother Bobby Hemmett, the Honorable Reverend Phil Valentine, Nellie Fuller, Fred Hampton, Honorable Louis Farrakhan, Anthony Browder, Dr. Coleman, Booker T. Coleman, Professor James Small, Rod Hayes, Steve Coakley, Billy Carson, 19 Keys, Dane Calloway, Karimo Ahua, Rizza Islam, the legendary Top Cats, Dr. Sebi, Leila Ha-O Africa, Yaki Awakening, King Randall, Magic 363, the brother Donnie Glover for providing us with this platform to reach our people, the Honorable Planet Wells, the beloved brother Hannibal James, and to all our viewers who are here and on our team, and also the young, wise, and intelligent brother Mafia Shakur.
Yes, sir.
And Horace Lee the Fourth.
Appreciate that, brothers. Appreciate it. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Top Cats, you get the final word, man.
All right. I want to do it like this here instead of talking. I just want to show it. Just show me screen real quick. I'm be real fast like Flash.
Now I know you from Houston. Now you don't do fast. Now
Now I'm new fast like Flash. We gonna be in and out. So I just want to show.
I don't want to be redundant, Top Cat, but I got big love for you, my brother.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, Elder. So right here, I'm gonna mute it, and these are the things that we do. This is about to be our 19th trip. Right here, we standing on top of Etowah Mounds, or what they call the Field of Reeds. This is the most place that they found the most artifacts out of the excavations. You look around, yeah, we all over. Hold on, I'm gonna bounce from there.
That's Carterville, Georgia.
Yes, sir, Carterville, Etowah. We had a mansion party that later that night. Right here, this is me and Tula, where they had the great pyramid. So you spoke about Phoenician, got a lot of that. These the old ball courts or whatever. Then we got them in Holcomb, and also that they coming out of Utah actually. These people. So here go the trade. If you see the trade routes right here, they go Houston, Cancun, Florida, and you see these routes
from the Yucatan.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why I spoke about the Ismaya, like me and Brother Hannibal was just building on earlier. So that's a connection. Here go my last one. Boom, 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 boom. Wait, where I'm at? Okay, right here. What I do is, so I can really go through a few, but this is the Mayan goddess, Ishel, where they talk about the Black Madonna. Well, right here, we actually go to these places, we find out that these people look like us. Not only here go a young lady right here, Mayan giving offering with braids in her hair, and I want people to see the sign. The sign say pre-Hispanic.
Right.
Pre-Hispanic Mayans.
Where's that at, bro?
This is Morales. Yeah, right here on the sign said when is Morales. And these are the figures. This is the mother of the Jaguar goddess. You see they dropping Jaguars down there. But we take these trips, pyramid trips. We had 2 of them. We've been on 19. We've been to Serpent Mound. We've been to Montezuma Castle. We've been to the Grand Canyon.
Montezuma was black, right?
Exactly. You know what? I went down to Mexico City. The picture everyone shows him standing in front of. I actually entered that building. In there, they have 3. When the Spanish got here, De La Casa wrote back and said that it was 3 figures who the Christians called Jesus Christ. But they had 3 original figures already in America when they got here. I went to Mexico City, and that place Montezuma is painted in front of. I entered it. You can't have a camera, but I got it in, and I went and recorded that black Jesus hanging on a tree. In the book of Acts, they said Jesus hung from a tree. Well, in
Acts 5:30.
There you go. Hunapoo is the Mayan god that said he hung on a tree. So they was gonna have a rival with them. The brother spoke about the matriarchal gathering. This is us gathering on Stone Mountain. This is Billy Carson, Rich.
Yeah, I saw that one. I saw that one.
This is
man, that's powerful, man.
This is what we want to do. This is what we want to bring back. We want to bring this.
The Black Indian himself. Welcome, legendary Top Cat.
Yeah, we want to bring these type of things to life. You know what I'm saying? And, have more of these gatherings like this here, and this gonna raise the consciousness and the imagery, what the people are seeing. Brother Rich just dropped a short film on Empire 363. If y'all haven't saw that, y'all go check that out.
I sent it to everybody.
Okay, Planet. Yeah, so that was pretty dope. And then we have a larger one coming. So I think January or February we'll all meet up in Atlanta. and we're gonna try to bring out everybody, and we're gonna watch the whole movie just of us. But we want to bring other minds and creators and people to tell these stories that they actually can tell the stories that happen, and we can put it in imagery so the people can see it. And so I leave with this here, man. Genealogy is the highest form of spirituality. Because it allows you to worship that in which you come from. It's the only thing that allows you to worship that in which you come from. What you're made up for, you wouldn't be here without. As we look through our genealogy, we become historians. We find out we become my story, and I'm sorry, instead of his story. The knowledge of the world is good to know, but knowledge itself is the greatest tool or the greatest gift that anyone can receive. And it can be unlocked through genealogy, tracing your steps, finding out who you are, where you are, your contributions. And I think that'll make you a better person. And if we could put that in the minds of the people and the minds of the children, I think we'll have a better world in 100 years.
Most definitely.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate
Yeah, appreciate you, Top Hats.
And our brother William Jones, who put that out in the previous episode, where he was talking about the beauty and the grace of our stories. So I want to shout out to that brother for sure.
For sure,
Okay.
for sure.
All right, Danny, I gotta get out of here. That's what they waiting on me.
All right.
Peace and blessings. Appreciate y'all allowing me.
All right, Top Cat.
All right, OGs.
Thank you, everyone. Like and subscribe. Good evening, world. Thank you.
Peace, brother.
Sir.